Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our For the Culture panel. We're so excited to be hosting this evening. My name is Brianna White. I am the coordinator of African American programs and leadership development at Fresno State's Cross Cultural and Gender Center. We're really excited to be partnering with the Career Development Center to bring you this panel and these amazing panelists who are going to share their stories. And happy Black History Month. So we have amazing panelists. We have Jasmine Shreem, we have Jamal Jones, we have Charlton Jordan, and we also have Christopher Siders. And before we dive into our discussion, just a few things. If you have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, and we will address your questions that you have for the panelists, and we'll make sure that they get discussed. But for the first question, to kind of just kick things off, I'd love for you all to introduce yourselves, share with us what your occupation is, your graduation year, where you graduated from, and what you're currently up to now. And anyone can start. It's just a roundtable discussion.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jamal Jones. I grew up in the East Bay area, born in San Francisco, raised in East Oakland, and I've been living in Fresno for about 22 years in June because I came to Fresno to go to school at Fresno State and play football at Fresno State. My bachelor's degree is in communication, and when I finished my bachelor's, I went into the workforce, into ministry. I worked for a nonprofit organization called the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and I was a pastor for about 7 years before I transitioned into what I do now in mental health as a licensed marriage and family therapist. And I am the owner of Central Valley Christian Council Incorporated, which is a online mental health practice based out of the Valley here in Fresno, where I live. And I will pass the mic to Charlton.
Thank you, Jamal. You didn't tell me what year it was, though, that you graduated.
Oh, I graduated from Fresno State in 2005.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So we crossed paths. So I'm originally from South Los Angeles, is what they call it now. South Central is, well, I called it. Went to Washington Preparatory High School there, and went to Fresno State, did track, and was on the cheer squad as the mascot, timeout. So I was the only tumbling, track running mascot there is, performer. So we did some commercials and things like that at the Fresno Relays. Left there, I got my teaching credential and went to LA, taught in LA for a couple of years, and continued working with the NCAA as the official mascot, traveled, did some entertainment acts, went and became a mascot coordinator for the State College Spikes, Altoona Curve, the AA affiliate of the Pittsburgh Pirates, as well as the Myrtle Beach Pelicans mascot director. Where I created and developed multiple characters and branding, marketing there. And then later, as I got my fourth child, I went and went into counseling fields, and I was working as a family and family therapist, a group family therapist for the family at school-based practice, and did that for about 10 years. Became a operations manager at a counseling company in San Bernardino, where we have a foundation as well as a therapy center. And I am working as a homeless support specialist with a school district, trying to help kids get funding and assistance during the homeless transition. Who's designated homeless, doesn't have to be on the street, but just designated homeless. And I am actually currently in Pennsylvania, and traveling all over the place, enjoying myself. And I will pass it to Jasmine.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jasmine. Well, Jasmine Hester. My middle name is actually Shireen, so somebody go by my middle name sometimes. Let's see. I am actually originally born and raised in the Bay Area originally. I lived in Oakland, East and West Oakland. Also lived in Vallejo. I transitioned to Bakersfield during high school. In Fresno for college, actually. I actually got my degree in cultural anthropology, 2 minors in creative writing and sports coaching. I also did study abroad as well during college. So I studied abroad in Italy. So that was like kind of a great opportunity for me, not only as a Black woman, but also as a former foster youth as well. I also was part of EOP as well as a Responsible Scholars Program at Fresno State. So I was there originally when we started the program for RSP. So I've been there, and I graduated in class of 2016. Currently, right now, I am a supervisor at Bolero, one of the many centers nationwide, as well as me blogging on the side. And I recently just got offered to do a co-host position through Hallmarky Podcast that I follow through Hallmark channel, which is like a fan-based podcast. So I just started that about a few weeks ago. So that's something I'm learning to do a little podcasting right now. So yeah, that's basically it right now. And I'm currently thinking of going into grad school right now. That's been on my mind for about a few years now, but I'm still thinking of grad school, either going for my applied anthropology or going into counseling. So that's been on my table currently right now.
I think we still have Christopher
Yes.
Siders to share.
Let's pass the mic to him.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Christopher Siders, and we still call it South Central Los Angeles. I'm from South Central Los Angeles. I went to school at View Park Preparatory Accelerated Charter High School off a corner of Crenshaw and Slauson. And I went to school at California State University, Monterey Bay, graduated with a BA in Human Communications with a concentration on creative writing and social action. So I have a lot of experience when it comes to activism and participating in the community. Mainly the type of activism that I was involved in was women's rights and LGBTQ plus rights, student rights. And that took me to several different places that I never thought I would go. For example, for 2 years between 2015 to 2017, I worked in the prison system, Soledad Correctional Facility, deconstructing the system of patriarchy and with incarcerated folks. And it's really interesting to hear their perspective and their stories, their lives, and how they got in there, and doing what we can to help young men to realign themselves and correct their behavior, and for hopefully so we can change the generational damage that's been placed onto young Black men and men of color. So over the years, I've been performing as a professional spoken word artist. I travel all around California and soon the nation. I'm 28 years old, by the way. So I'm really young. And currently my day job, I am a house manager and a theater technician for the James Armstrong Theater in Torrance. And I work for Fleet Services in the city of Torrance. And yeah, so, and I have 3 books, 2 of which are poetry books, and another one is a short book of short stories. The 3rd book is coming out this March, actually. And y'all could go get the pre-order and all that stuff. But yeah, just throwing it out there. So love, appreciate.
You know, Brianna, I can't help but notice that as people were introducing themselves, these are African-American professionals who have multiple streams of income. which is a big deal as you go through life and have a career and try to figure out how to best support your family and have the quality of life that you want to have.
Oh yeah,
Sometimes it
absolutely.
takes having more than one job, more than two jobs, or even having dual careers.
Mhm. Absolutely. And that's such a good point, Jamal. I was just sitting here thinking like, wow, just like how amazing like is this panel and everyone's experiences and just talents and gifts. And it's just really encouraging just to see like just all the opportunities that there are. And like the world really is like our oyster, you know, like we can really do whatever we put our mind to. So I'm extremely encouraged. I know you are the panelists. I know our attendees are really encouraged to see just all the opportunities there are to really just work it, literally work it. And so thank you all so much for sharing. What does it mean to exist as a Black person in your profession or space? And anyone can take that and you can just kind of popcorn in your response or kind of let it resonate with you a bit.
I think it's, wanna go, Jamal? I think it's very important, especially for me. I transitioned when I was in college from retail going into hospitality, especially currently right now as a supervisor. In my area that I've seen, being on my center that I work at for Bolero, I only see myself as a supervisor. So before I became a supervisor, I always wanted someone who looked at like, who's Caucasian, who is Hispanic, maybe someone who is Asian. But me finally getting a position I started 3 months ago, people, either customers or either staff, were seeing like, oh, there's a Black person that's in position, as well as someone who is a Black woman. And for me, I take that in pride because I want to, especially my coworkers who are or African American who are staff, especially if they're in college or not, to see me like, hey, I see you. I check on you as well as my others, employees, but I see you. I ask how you're doing. I encourage them, either they're current students, like, hey, how's your schedule working? I know our job is flexible, but knowing that they see me, especially as customers see me, like, oh, there's a sister family here in this position, because I haven't seen that yet. Or they're cheering me on, like, I see you, sis, I see you.
When it comes to being in the workspace, it's something someone told me like a while ago. They said, you're Black first and you're Christopher second. And that really resonates with me in the type of work that I do in management, house management for the James Armstrong Theater. I had an incident where a client wasn't following protocols, and me being the manager, I had to regulate. And I informed them, we can't have this many people in here at this time. And they was asking me to open doors and do different things. And I put my hand up just like this and just pointing at doors and different things like that extent. They grabbed my arm and like pushed it down. And I took that as a sign of, oh, you're a threat. You're a Black man in such a high position. And I told my white boss, one of my white bosses, and they was like, no, it's nothing to worry about. And the thing is, you don't know what it's like to be a Black man and a Black queer man at that. And especially in the type of position that I'm in with spoken word and being in that field, a lot of folks try to censor me in the type of things that I want to express. There's been a couple times I got booked by colleges, and they're asking me to tone it down when I'm just speaking truth to my story, to power, to what I seen in my community and whatnot. It's so when it comes to being in a workspace, it means that I had to tone it down or had to be another version of Chris when I just can't be myself because apparently I'm being aggressor. So.
I'm the youngest of 5 kids. I have 2 older brothers, 2 older sisters. I grew up in East Oakland, and so my both my parents are Black, and so really grew up with with a sense of pride and dignity with being Black, but also fully aware of all the challenges that come along with being Black, particularly in the inner city. And as I reflect on my experience as a Black boy transitioning into young adulthood and going to college, that was a big deal, right? Just the fact that I was in a home environment, and fortunately, I learned about the possibility of getting a scholarship, either a academic or a athletic scholarship, and things worked out for me that I was able to get an athletic scholarship to Fresno State. And when I came to college at Fresno State, um, I did experience some culture shock because now I went from being in Oakland and being in the city where I saw a lot more people who looked like me and talked like me and related to me as a Black boy. Then when I came to Fresno State in college, a lot more diversity, a lot more ethnic backgrounds. You know, I remember being a Black college student and learning about Clovis. You know, if you're a Black boy or if you're a Black man and you go to Clovis, be careful. You know, or if you go to like a white fraternity house, be careful. You know, if you go to a frat party, go to the Black frat party because just part of being Black is having to be aware of not only your own trauma and things that you go through, but also how you're perceived by people. And it so that's some of my thoughts. Now I work in mental health, and I would say over the last 22 years, from college all the way through my professional life till now, um, I've had to learn how to present myself. Because just by appearance, I'm not only Black, but I'm dark skinned. And me being dark skinned, Black professional, as my man over here just said, Christopher just said, I have to live with an awareness that I am a perceived threat. So for me to have a bad day on the job, which would mean for me to, there's times in my career where I've lost my temper because I was in a bad mood or I was under stress and I became upset. Well, it's one thing to be upset at work, but it can cost you your livelihood. It can cost you your job. Um, Whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent, as a professional, you got to think twice about how you respond to stress, how you respond to trauma, how you interact, how you resolve conflict. When do you go to HR? When do you not go to HR? You got to be aware of all the tools at your disposal because you are trying to survive. And for many of us, going to college and going into different industries, we're the first ones to do that. And there's few of us. Like for me in mental health, there's not many Black male therapists in mental health. So a lot of clients who come to me they want a Black therapist. Um, so those are some of my thoughts about being a Black professional, and I'll stop there. And
You didn't have to stop. You was telling the truth, man. Do it. All right. No, but so Jamal had same culture shock coming from LA. I came, I was in the LA riots, so coming to I was there. I helped participate in some things, but it was for necessary purposes. But anyway, going into Fresno State, it was definitely a culture shock, but I learned to navigate and adjust a lot of different ways. I stayed true to myself and playing and enjoying myself, learning about different cultures, different behaviors. I need to know who's next to me. I always, from LA, you were always guarded anyway, right? So you want to make sure you keep a level of protection right there for you. But working with some of the coaches during my track career, I was in fellowship with Christian athletes, was working with regional director with just like Jamal was, and some of the coaches was able to open my eyes to God in a different light. So I was able to see other people's heart, different perspectives, and see those gems in the rough that can help move the movement, and just kind of talk about it and just have that conversation. In the mascot world, in being a performer, you're dealing with people who don't know your color. So once you're in a costume, you can be right there next to somebody and hear them talking racist comments, and then you're like, wow, let me just hug on you just a little bit more. Just my little joke to you. But understanding that they don't know who you are. They don't know the truth. They may love that performer, but didn't know that performer was Black. And just kind of getting to see those mannerisms. When I came out to this the ballpark here, dominant Caucasian, and the minute I start telling people that I was part of that team, that I work for them, perspectives changed. Oh, I love that team. It became a positive interaction instead of a negative. I used that to help with my kids so that it wouldn't be a negative to them. I made sure they said, just make sure you tell them that I work at the curb. And they're like, oh, okay. And so it removed a lot of the obstacles in that first look, that they look at you with your color, breaking through some of those things. But in the field of performing as a mascot, you definitely have, there's not a lot of Black people in the donning the suit. And so cutting through, being able to do, I was probably top in my industry, doing certain things that I could do, and just navigating through people who weren't like yourself, and just having to educate them about different things, just learning. It's like, oh yeah, we don't do that. You know, are you going to get that stuff on you when you switch suits, or things like that? It was just a very dominant thing. So I created a character called Daniel D. Lion. So I have my own business as well. I just didn't talk about it, but it's I stand confident knowing who I am, so can you. And the message is to stand who God created you to be, and to walk confidently in that. No matter what it is, whether you're Black, white, red, brown, you're going to stand confident because you have a lot of gifts and talents. We can go any direction we want to. We just have to make those steps. Sometimes just being confident about that, being confident in your skills and abilities, you can put yourself in a lot of great positions. And some doors may close, but if you're confident, you can get those doors opened by some other friend that you engage with. Your networking, it's all about social engagement. Everyone says it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. And if you can connect with people and have them remove that first layer of protection that they have, being fearful, being, oh, he's one of those thugs, or he's one of those, you can remove those things and then regain a relationship and kind of break some of these lines. I'm doing a social justice fellowship where I'm coaching businesses. They're doing DEI trainings, and we're helping them educate on how to be more aware, and educating on, oh yes, this stuff really does happen. Some of the stuff you see on TV, yeah, it does happen, and they thought it was not real. A lot of the media has brought attention and caused conversation, and so this has gave opportunity to teach and share. But while there's some people who are stuck in the old ways of the past, of saying that, oh, I'm tired, I can't do the marches anymore, I can't do it because nothing's changing. They want to see the change happen fast. We know it ain't gonna happen fast. It's step by step. And so now partnering up with other businesses that are willing to make a change, that is the key at this point, and having those conversations and making those discussions. So that is kind of where I am right now.
This is like, there is just so much fire, and like the best way that is just coming through my screen. This is, you all are just so incredible. And I just want to thank you all for just sharing. And that was the first question technically, right? Because we did the intro, and oh my gosh, this is just so awesome. And yeah, I want to thank you all for sharing, and you all just brought up so many relatable things for not only like our students, but like for them in their professions and their roles that they are also a part of outside of the classroom, and experiences. And I can recall experiences in my own career that you all touched on. I'm just like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, wait, I'm not a panelist. Like, it's not my story. My time to tell my story, but just wow, just so incredible. You know, something that you kind of all touched on was just kind of like perception and like how you're viewed in your workplace. So how do you all like work through perceptions from others that aren't necessarily who you are?
I think it takes a lot of patience and grace with self. Something Jamal just touched on that really struck a nerve with me was the whole thing of HR, because I have so many different experiences with HR. For example, that incident that I just spoke on earlier, where I was practically assaulted when someone grabbed my arm and lowered it because they felt threatened. I spoke to one of my managers and I spoke to another manager. So the other manager just gave me a whole bunch of like, oh, if I was you, I would have did this, I would have did that. And this is coming from a white person. And the thing is, this is the city of Torrance. The city of Torrance is notoriously racist. My family has a history with the city of Torrance. My cousin got beat up by Torrance police. Before I even got this job, there was a man named Christopher DeAndre, 23 years old. He got shot and killed by Torrance police right down the street from my job. And my father, before I was born, Torrance police pulled guns on him because Torrance, I believe, was a sundown town at that time. And so when it comes to the ignorance in the workspace, something that I keep just trying to tell myself that it's gonna all be over once I hit that clock out button. And also, these people don't know what it's like to be Black. They have no clue. They have no idea. Even a job that I had previously before Torrance, I worked at 85 Bakery. 85 Bakery is an Asian bakery. And I was the only Black guy in there. And all my coworkers were Filipino, Taiwanese, and Japanese. So there were some folks in there using the N-word, and that made me feel extremely uncomfortable. And I told HR didn't really do anything. I took it up with my boss. My boss didn't do anything. So I'm like, get this, I'm out. So my advice or my suggestion, my recommendation, something that I urge for students and community members alike is to always have patience for yourself. Don't let anyone pressure you into doing something that you don't feel comfortable with. If you don't feel comfortable going to HR, then that's what it is. Because at the end of the day, you got to live with that. You got to live with the decision. Because it's already enough going on in the world. You got to protect yourself by all costs. By all costs. So.
As important as it is for us to be aware of how we're perceived by people, because the reality, we are perceived as dangerous, we are perceived as being threats, we are perceived as being unsafe. It's as important as it is to be aware of those things. For me, I got to focus more on my personal identity and having a strong sense of self. And for me, my identity is grounded in my faith. That's where I get my self-confidence, my self-worth. And so I'm not saying that anybody else has to have their identity and their faith, because that's my personal choice. But if it's not your faith, then what is it going to be? what are you going to use to define define your character? What do you stand for as a person? What do you represent as a person? And the more grounded that we are in our personal identity, and the healthier we are with our personal boundaries, the less impact the outside world has on us, the less impact those perceptions have on us. And I would also add that there's a connection between our professional life and our personal life. So in my personal life, if I'm watching the news or I'm engaging in activities that's causing me to get like upset at white America or carry resentment toward people, again, stuff is happening in the world and I'm fully aware of it. But in terms of my mental health and my ability to show up as my best self at work, I got to monitor how much negativity am I going to bring in my personal life? How much bad news do I need in one day before clocking in? How much bad news do I need during my lunch break? So I really try to focus more on, who am I? What do I stand for? What do I represent? While at the same time being aware that people outside of me see me completely differently, but I can't control that. And hopefully I don't get shot or assaulted or something stupid happening to me because I'm Black, hopefully.
Just balancing just like all of that is a job all in itself, really. It really is. And I just want to thank you for sharing. And just reflecting in my own career, just having to balance, especially working in DEI work, diversity, equity and inclusion, where sometimes it doesn't feel all too inclusive or diverse. And so it's hard to navigate and work through, and especially when people expect you to feel a certain way because of your identity or because of you being in a specific role. So thank you for speaking to that. How do you all stay grounded in who you are at work?
I think that goes still along the lines of that same perception for me. Definitely my faith. It goes along with a lot of things that I do. Being confident in who I've been created to be. As when I was in college, in junior high, I was trying to figure out what in the world my purpose was. What does God want me here for? And it was to make people smile at that point. But then I got a little feeling some kind of way, because I'm like, I don't want to be that just being a clown and nothing. Like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that jokester or whatever. So it was differently. I did it by giving love. I did it by giving smiles. So I protect I compartmentalize my life. So I let people see what they need to see. They don't need to see my social home personal life, because I'm not inviting them over. But I am showing them that, one, I'm friendly, I'm loving, I'm caring. I'm trusting you with these areas, and I will educate you in that aspect. If you're the only Black person in that field, you become that spotlight. So therefore, everybody looking at you. Is this real? Is that happening? Is that true? Yeah, it's true. It's real. So I try to do my best to stay at a good balance at work, to keep them, one, knowing that they can depend on me. They know that I'm a good worker, and that is the importance of work. But if they would like to know more about me, that means you're stepping into a different world. And now I'm gonna teach you what it means to be who I am, and why I do the things that I do, and why I protect myself. Because like you said, like Jamal, saying something, being in the wrong temper and things like that, I can't do that word. There's always a time for venting. For mental health, you have somebody you can talk to and vent. you have supervisions, things like that. You can vent about sessions to make sure you're clear. I do the same thing for my life. So having someone to be able to talk to and vent out. Self-care is important. Self-care is key. So I definitely, disc golf, video games, socializing with my brother, VR, Oculus. So yeah, I do all that.
For me, wise, when I'm at work, not knowing it though, but I always project the fact that I, wear my heart on my sleeve though. At the same time, I'm more of a role model and mentor more than ever. Like I would sit with either my coworkers will talk or they need to vent about something, or if it's dealing with, if it's personal or something like that, like whoever stays in this room stays here. I'm there to listen. I'm there to be that role model because they see it. Like, I look up to you, Jazzy. I see you, how do I come be better like you? And then in that sense, I'm like, I've always done that in a way. I try to project to not only be a strong person, but also be a strong Black woman, but also try to elevate and grow the next generation. Especially at work, when I talk to them about life skills, I'm like, I'm not trying to better them just at their job. I'm trying to help them better skills outside the workforce as well, because not only what you're taking, what you learn at work, I want you to do that outside of your job. Either you're a student, I'm like, no, we gotta work on this schedule, and so you have classes, let me know what's going on. You've got midterms, finals, put that stuff in, because we won't know until you let us know what's going on. You need to flex this or that. So I try to be that reason, okay, this is what you could do A, B, and C, but I need you also to have a game plan as well. I try to be that so much. Not only just as a personal human being, just I see the best in people and I see what they can do. And I try to push them, not as like I'm digging hard on you, but it's like I see your worth, I see what you can do. And I try to do that every time I'm on my shift. And also just encourage them. Also, I keep open door with them as well. Like, hey, I'm here. For my mental health, every time I go home from work, it could be a great day, it could be a bad day. I try to reflect. I try to breathe. Like, okay, this customer got on my nerves. This person got digged into me. I'm like, how could I be better? Or how did I yell at my coworkers or raise my voice that I should have raised? Like, how could I be better next time? How could I have a plan this way? And I learned how to do that as I decompose with either some tea or music. Like, okay, I can be better, I can grow. And also how they can grow at the same time, where we have a discussion like, hey, I know I talked to you this way or that way, but hey, I want to apologize, or vice versa, where we have that dialogue and keep it open. And I've learned that along the way on the workforce of who I am. And that's at the same time with my mental health and being who I am present at work.
Yes, raise the roof, raise the roof. I want to just take a moment to read some of the awesome messages in the chat. Amazing group of panelists. Love the variety of experiences you all have. Another comment says, as a younger generation, it's such a privilege to be guided by such wise and amazing leaders in the community. Thank you. And then, yeah, just continuous praise of just how amazing the conversation is. All of you provide such amazing insights. I wish this was a weekly podcast that could be accessed by students across the country. It's important from all people, from all backgrounds, to understand others' experiences. Thanks for being so honest about your experiences. And I just want to echo that as well. And I know I keep saying thank you, but really it's just, when do we really get to take the time to just like be open and honest and just talk about our journey as Black professionals and our experiences and what really roots us, and just how we continue in our day-to-day work. So thank you all so much. I want to hear from you all. Any advice you can share with our students, because we have some of our statistics that we have on campus. I know we kind of touched on like demographic a bit. We have over 20,000 students on campus. 3% are identify as Black at Fresno State. And so that's less than 700 students at Fresno State that identify as Black. And I know a few of you touched on kind of a culture shock coming to campus and seeing, you know, that there's just such a small Black population. So what are some pieces of advice that you can give our students, all students looking, you know, for their career while attending school, starting their career?
Be open-minded. We all have our own families that we come from. We all have our own backgrounds, our own neighborhoods. But part of going to college and becoming educated is learning a new way to think, gaining a new paradigm toward life, learning how to interact with people that you never met before, learning how to make decisions about how to lead your life autonomously without your parents or your family being as involved as it was before in many cases. And so I think it's important to know who you are and own who you are, while at the same time being very open-minded to the people that you meet. Walk in love. You know, this world is full of hatred, and the antidote to hatred is love. So learn to genuinely care about people, regardless of their ethnicity or cultural background. But while you're embracing every person and every culture and every background, because everybody is worthy of love, at the same time, because there are only 700 students at Fresno State, and as you go further into the workforce, you might be the first person in a certain job or one of a few in a certain industry. The one word that comes to mind is to be intentional. You know, every person here tonight was intentional about being part of this event because it's Black History Month, and it's important for us to be intentional about supporting each other and helping each other. So as you advance in your education and as you advance in your career, be intentional about giving back to the Black community. Be intentional about advocating for social justice. Be intentional about reaching back for someone younger than you who can learn from you, that you can mentor. I'm a huge, I operate from the belief that life isn't really about us, even though we're here for a purpose and we have things to accomplish. I believe a big part of that purpose is to help others. And so within the Black community, we need to show as much love and support and advocacy that we can for one another, while at the same time acknowledging other people in the world from other ethnicities and cultures.
Good job. Oh my goodness, that was great. So I'm gonna say you got to run track at Fresno State. Like, I mean, goodness, that's well. And I'm gonna say this. This is why I'm gonna say this, because a lot of my teammates during my years, we had a great year. We had a great team during my year, and Ramsey J. Jr., Ruben Parrish, Demetrius Neer, Tamiko Simpson, Felicia Brown. These are all leaders in the community. There's Evian Jackson, Brandon Taylor, he's one of the faculty at Fresno State. I mean, we have so many people that we have behind us who we encouraged one another. We loved on one another. We built up one another. We supported one another in whatever facet they're going to, whether educator, and doing something you love. Like, who would have thought you want to be a mascot, like a performer? Like, nobody even in this field. And it was me talking to the first Philly fanatic at a game at Grizzlies, where I became the NCAA mascot. I was the first Grizzly mascot, things like that. And then building up and being at the first Hall of Fame for mascots, which they have one in the facility in Indianapolis. And then, but just finding something you love, being, like he said, intentional about like being open. It's like, oh, can I do this? But I didn't want to get whipped by my mama. So look, I got my teaching credential and I went and taught a couple of years so that I can make sure she was okay with spending all that money at college, then to go performing. But now it puts me back in the school district prepared, back with my credential. I have all the things that I need. I have my master's in counseling and life coaching, just so that I can teach at the college. I mean, I was intentional about having the tools that I needed about going in the work field so that no one can really say, oh, well, he doesn't know anything. And I didn't say I knew everything in the first place. All I did is I wanted to do something I enjoyed. How can I serve someone else? And I wanted to support my family. I had a vision, and the person I was with, we had a vision together, and we just kept moving. My kids right now, my 20-year-old has just bought a house. A girl, yes, in December. Like I ain't like they both, my twins, they're twins. So they both bought a car a week from each other, paid off, just bought a used car, and working full time and doing it in the midst of COVID. So this is a blessing to know that some of it got into their system. They still had the fight of, oh, I don't want to do what you say, because you look, you as you move these different hurdles, as you rise, you're going to need questions answered, and the person they're going to go to is the person who's doing it. So like Jamal said, be that example and to someone else so they can ask you those questions. Joe Broussard was a great help for me as those examples and going into my family. So look at those mentors, look at those, being intentional about open up to different opportunities as well. So.
While I do agree with everything everyone's saying in regards to supporting one another and the importance of community, I can't stress enough the importance of building emotional intelligence within self and building yourself up, because I think in a Black community coming from South Central Los Angeles, there's a huge issue when it comes to just letting yourself feel. Growing up, I didn't let myself feel. And that spiraled into so many different things where I actually almost got expelled from high school. And if I kept going down that path, I wouldn't be sitting here right now talking to you. And so when I was in college, I did have like great community around me in the activist community. But however, no one didn't really like say like, Chris, sit down and just take inventory. We need to teach ourselves how to take inventory of the things that's around us, the things that's affecting us. And the biggest thing is learning how to respond versus reacting. That got me out of so many different situations as a young Black man. And with that comes with understanding and building your own emotional intelligence. So yeah, I just want to urge everyone that's listening, that's watching, just take time for yourself. And there's nothing wrong with being selfish. There's nothing wrong with that. So
it's called self-care.
Yes, yes, definitely. And self-love.
Yes, and mental health is not a negative. Go see a counselor if you need help.
I was just going to touch bases on that too. Make sure you look at different services on campus, especially mental health. It is part of your tuition. You pay for that. It is free. You can have counseling, from counseling to nutrition, everything in between. It's so important, especially in the Black community. We don't talk about mental health. It's slowly opening up the conversation about mental health. I didn't know to my sophomore year where I had a breakdown at my student work job where, do you need to see a counselor? I'm like, a counselor? And that opened up a door for me, especially different services I was in that said, okay, we have this within our program. Let's do this. It's okay to see counseling. Like, the counseling department is amazing. They can reach you depending on either someone who is Black, who is Hispanic, who's LGBTQ, who could relate to you. They do a questionnaire, something that's very important to take time for yourself. Either it's like once a month where you check in to see how you're doing, to unravel that and be able to, you know, take care of yourself, because especially you're going to a campus, because yes, we are at 3%, and you don't see yourself. You don't, you know, see people look around you. which I encourage you guys to get involved. You see the Black community either involved in BSU, is involved in different events like we're doing right now for Black History Month, to know that you see each other on campus, you communicate and connect and network with each other. Because down the line when you guys graduate, you will see each other, no matter if you're in the same city, the same state, different state, you will see each other, you recognize each other, like, how you doing, what's going on, how's your job, or X, Y, and Z, because you guys made a connection with each other that will last for a lifetime. Especially as a small knit community, we should be able to know who we are. It doesn't matter if we're like, hey, I know you through this person, because we have those connections because we're weaved together. Making sure we use the services that are provided, especially if you're looking at like student involvement for like volunteer work or anything, because they have paid scholarships. I've done it in my freshman year, doing maybe 150, almost 200 hours. I got scholarship money looking to study abroad. I can't stress enough about study abroad, because we thought the 3% was, at Fresno State, try being a Black student in a study abroad position where maybe 80% of it is, someone who is either white or Hispanic, but then you're that 1% where they're asking these different questions, because we're all from different universities, but at the same time, it's like, wow, like, I didn't think about it till I looked around, like, I am the only one. How do I tell my people who are just like me, it's okay to study abroad. It's okay to go outside of your city, outside your state, to experience something that we see in the textbook. Like, I want to go here, I want to go there. How would it perceive me? You learn so much from yourself and being open-minded, just coming on campus, but doing it on a whole different spectrum and gaining that experience back and coming back and saying, hey, I definitely learned something from my peers. Like, you see someone who looks just like you there, I'm like, wait a minute. Someone speaking Italian and they look just like me, but from a whole different country. I'm like, this is out of my experience. And also just, seeing different people either in these different spaces is very important. And I just encourage you to just get involved and just keep, try something new. And also use your hobbies as your minor, because you might as well go to school, have your hobby on the side and get those minors. That's going to help you too. And to help you pair with your major. Those are really important. And like also seek the career services, because I was floating so much in this one major where it just took me down, where I took a quiz and changed my life. And I got to the degree where I'm at because all the struggles through my undergrad where I found my niche. And also lastly, if you're struggling, make sure you reach out to the SSD office, student with disabilities as well. I had disability, I did not know why I was struggling. And that's very important, because they may have not picked it up in elementary or junior high or high school, but there are services and ways you can either pay for it, or there's ways, either a program you're involved with to get paid halfway for it. That's very important, because you never know where you could be struggling and not knowing to the very beginning, middle, or end, like, oh, I did not know. And it could maybe help you with your testing, help you with different things in the classroom. And there's teachers will know, your professors will know by giving a letter, okay, I need to help them do note takings or X, Y, and Z. Don't be ashamed about it. Don't be shy. I'm like, I was nervous. I'm like, I have a learning disability, but I took it as, you know what? I can motivate somebody else. And I can encourage. And it's okay to say, I have a disability, but I can do this. And you're not alone.
And look at you now. Good. And definitely, I want to echo what you said. Get involved. I was part of the newspaper. I was delivering the card for newspaper for the Black paper. I was track theater department. I did stage managing. I did acting with Professor Ellis. I mean, I was part of ASU. I was like all of it. I did bowling. I did golf because I wanted to be ready for business. I took it all because outside the workforce, they're like, oh, did you know how to golf? I'm like, yeah, I took a class. Just connecting. It's different resources. And it was free. Well, you had to pay for tuition, but yeah, definitely.
That bowling class did help me too, because even when I got into the bowling industry, like some of my lead bowlers are like, oh, I'm like, I took a bowling class. I'm good. At Fresno State, they have a winning champion team. I took that class. I got some notes.
See, I'm so happy that you brought up diversity, because it's so interesting how universities across the nation like to promote innovation through diversity. And I know CSU Monterey Bay, my college, have this ridiculous thing of saying we promote diversity and different things to that extent. When I was a freshman, I only seen Black people working in like the cafeteria. White people was working in like higher positions. It just now it started to shift, and it's so interesting, the dynamic of like how everyone wants to ride off of like the oppression of Blacks and try to use diversity as like a safety cushion to get people, to attract people in there. Yeah, I just wanted to comment on that. It's just interesting is all.
That is definitely, that will be part 2 of our panel discussion. That we could talk about that for hours, let me tell you. But we are coming to a close. So I would just like to thank each and every one of you, Jasmine, Jamal, Charlton, and Christopher, for joining us tonight for our first, but not last, for the culture panel. Your insight and just your stories and experiences were extremely encouraging to me, and I know for just from the comments in the chat, others as well. So I just want to thank you so much for being a part of tonight's panel. And I know you all touched on community, and like I was raising the roof back here, but look at my background. I am because we are. That's community. Woo! Yeah. So I just want to thank you all for joining, and yes, thank you, and happy Black History Month. Continue to work it on your jobs, and just congratulations to just all the things that you all are doing. So nice to engage with you.
Thank you. Nice to see you all. I really
And
enjoyed
Mary
this.
says not to jump off right away. She said she wants to thank you all.